Every life has secrets hidden in the shadows, but few are as chilling as the dark side of Mr. Millim's journey. Today, I'm going to reveal the untold story of a man whose smile hid pain, whose silence concealed battles, and whose past was darker than anyone ever imagined. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notification bell, because stories like this one will open your eyes and keep you hooked till the very end. Mr. Millim's life was never as ordinary as it looked on the surface, because behind every smile he wore and every word he spoke, there was a history filled with shadows, betrayals, and moments so dark that even he struggled to admit they were real. And though people often admired him for his resilience and quiet strength, they never truly understood how much of that strength was forged in fire and how much of his heart had already been burned away. Because as a child, Millim grew up in a small town where the streets seemed peaceful, but inside his home, chaos reigned, with a father who carried too much anger and a mother who bore too much silence, and every night became a war zone of broken bottles, slammed doors, and whispers that cut deeper than shouts. And Millim as a boy learned quickly that safety was an illusion, that sometimes the people meant to protect you are the very ones who wound you. And so he built inside himself a fortress, a place where emotions were locked away, a place where no one could hurt him. But that fortress came at a cost, because while it shielded him from pain, it also kept him from love, trust, and warmth. And when he went to school, he wore a mask of normalcy, pretending to be just another kid while hiding bruises under long sleeves and holding back tears that no one ever saw. And yet he excelled, not because life was kind, but because he was determined to prove he was more than his circumstances, and people admired his intelligence, his sharpness, and his wit, though they never knew that behind every achievement was a child screaming for freedom, for peace, for the kind of love he only ever saw in movies or read in books. And as he grew older, that darkness grew with him, turning into a shadow that followed him into friendships, into relationships, into every attempt at happiness, because trust was always broken before it even began. And though he tried to open his heart, he found betrayal waiting for him time and time again, like when he fell in love at 18 with someone he thought would heal him, only to discover she had been laughing behind his back, mocking his scars, telling others about the brokenness he tried so hard to hide. And that betrayal crushed him in a way fists never could, leaving a wound so deep that he swore never to let anyone see him weak again. And so began the part of his life where he became two people: the man the world saw, successful, calm, unshaken, and the man in the mirror, haunted, angry, questioning his worth, battling demons in the silence of his nights. And as years went by, success came, but with it came enemies, people who envied his rise, who whispered lies, spread rumors, and stabbed him in the back while smiling to his face. And though he learned to fight back, each betrayal left another scar, another reminder that the world was not as kind as it pretended to be. And in business, he found the same darkness he knew at home, because the corporate world was another battlefield of greed, lies, and manipulation. And Millim learned quickly that to survive, he had to become colder, harder, less trusting, until one day he realized he had built an empire but lost pieces of his soul along the way. And he asked himself late at night, was it worth it? Was success worth the loneliness, the distrust, the walls so high no one could climb them? And sometimes he would whisper to himself that maybe he was doomed from the start, shaped by pain in ways he could never undo. And yet deep inside there was still a flicker of hope, a voice that told him he could break free from his past, that he could write a different ending to his story. But that voice was small compared to the roar of memories, of broken promises, of all the nights he lay awake staring at the ceiling, remembering his childhood, remembering the bruises, remembering the betrayals, and wondering if he would ever find peace. And the truth is, peace did not come easily, because every time he let someone close, every time he tried to trust, the shadow of his past whispered, reminding him of pain, warning him not to be fooled again. And so he pulled away, again and again, until loneliness became his only true companion. But in that loneliness, he began to see himself more clearly, to realize that the darkness was not only something done to him but something he carried, something he had allowed to define him. And slowly, painfully, he began to confront it, to face the ghosts he had been running from. And in that confrontation, he discovered strength, not the kind that comes from hiding pain, but the kind that comes from owning it, from saying, yes, this happened, yes, I was broken, but I am still here. And in that realization, Millim began a different journey, one not of chasing success or proving his worth, but of finding healing, forgiveness, and maybe, just maybe, love. And though the scars remain, though the darkness is still a part of him, he learned that even the darkest story can have light, that even a man who has walked through fire can find a way to rise. And that is the dark side of Mr. Millim's life story. Not a tale of defeat, but a story of survival, of struggle, of a man who faced the worst of humanity yet still searched for the best in himself. And if you listen closely, his story whispers a truth we all need to hear: that no matter how broken we are, No matter how heavy our past, we are not defined by the darkness we've endured, but by the light we choose to chase, even if it's only a flicker in the night, because that flicker is enough to guide us forward, enough to remind us that hope is never truly gone, and that in the end, even the darkest life can still hold a spark of redemption. If Mr. Millim's story touched you, remember, darkness exists in all of us, but so does the power to rise above it. If you believe in overcoming pain, in turning scars into strength, then don't just watch, be part of this journey. Hit that like button, share this story with someone who needs hope, and most importantly, subscribe so you never miss another story that could change the way you see life. Together, we can shine light into the darkest corners.